Okay, I'm going to cover some basics about perimeter in this video. It's pretty simple once you get the concept of what you're doing and then just apply the formula. Pretty much the same thing for area as well. I'll cover that in a different video. For right now, perimeter, really all this means is the distance around an object. Distance around an object. Okay, so a lot of times in your math class, you'll be given a specific shape and asked to find or calculate the perimeter of that shape. And it can start off pretty straightforward. They'll give you a shape you can easily recognize, you can name the shape, and you apply a formula. So let's talk about some of those formulas. Ones you're going to need to know are going to be for, let's say, a square. Now a square has formula P for perimeter equals 4s. And the reason why it's 4s is because a square has 4 exactly identical equal sides. So all you have to do is pick one of the sides, s, multiply it by 4, and you have the entire perimeter. So that's all you have to do for the perimeter of a square. Now, for a rectangle, pretty similar idea, and perimeter really has a similar idea for any shape that you're doing. They just go about it in a slightly different way. The formula looks different, but you're doing the same thing. Okay, perimeter of a rectangle is 2 times the length, and you add that on to 2 times the width. Okay, let me talk about this briefly. If you think about a rectangle, I'll draw one out for you here. Here's a rectangle. Not a very good rectangle, but about as good as I can draw. It's really got this length and this length. So that's why you see 2 lengths popping up in the formula, and you add that onto how many widths are there? As you would expect, this one and this one, 2. So that's why you see the 2 length, and you add that on to the 2 width, and you've covered the entire distance around. That's the perimeter. Okay, let's talk about a triangle. Triangle has formula that again captures the essence of what it means to be perimeter, where all you have to do is add up side A plus side B plus side C. So you've got this triangle right here. You add up that side, and that side, whatever the values are. That's your perimeter. Okay, the only exception to this is for a circle. And it's really not too much of an exception because you're doing the same things, it just has a formula that looks a little different. They call this the circumference. And it's really identical to the perimeter of a circle, because it's still the entire distance around the circle, just as you would expect from perimeter. Now here's the formula for the circumference of a circle. They go with C equals 2 pi r. So as long as you know the radius of a circle, you can calculate what the circumference will be by just multiplying by pi and then multiplying by 2, or any order that you choose. It's also equal to pi times diameter. So if you're given, say, the diameter, you can find the circumference by just multiplying that by pi. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to do one example of each one of these so that you can see how to do this. And that's all you have to do for perimeter. Even if you're given an odd shape that you don't know what it would be called or anything, you can just break it down into, you know, this and this and, you know, something like that, some combination of these, then add up all your perimeters at the end. Okay, so for a square, let's say I'm given these directions, find the perimeter. Find the perimeter. Okay, and let's say given a square, like this. How do I know that this is a square? Well, there's a couple ways in geometry and just math in general you know this would be a square. Say I call this side 5. And I would call this side 5, 5, and 5. Just by looking, I know by definition that a square has all equal sides. So seeing that these are all 5 means that this is a square. Even if I draw it like crap, doesn't matter. Okay, so my perimeter of this square is just going to be 4 times 5, which is 20. Now, this particular square didn't come with any units. That would mean like anything right after the 20. 20 inches, 20 yards, whatever the case may be. So if that happens, then just write units. Okay, so there's for a square. Now let's go with a rectangle. Rectangle, I'll draw one here. And I can really label these with whatever numbers I want, doesn't matter. So let's say we'll call this 12, and we'll call this 3. Okay, so because I know it's a rectangle, then I can go ahead and label this as 12, and this, it's not required, but I could do that if I wanted. Then I just apply the formula, P equals 2L plus 2W. Okay, so when I plug in, I'm going to get that this is 2 times 12 plus 2 times 3. And do the arithmetic here. This will give you 24 plus 6, which is a grand total of 30. Okay, so I get 30 there. Again, no units given to me here in this rectangle, so I'm just going to add in at the end 30 units. And this is my answer for that one. Okay, so I've covered that. The triangle and the circle are very, very similar. So I will actually do the circle because it kind of looks a little different. I'll give you a circle here. I'll draw one in. I'm very good at doing that. Looks terrible. That's okay. Here's a radius of, say, 7. This one I'll call it yards. Squeeze that in there. Okay, so I got a radius of 7 yards in this circle. Now I know the circumference, or the perimeter of this circle, is just 2 pi r. So all I have to do is take this 7 yards and plug it in right here, and I get 2 pi times 7 yards. Okay, you can multiply these in any order you want. You can do 2 times pi, then times 7 yards. You can do 7 times 2, then times pi. Up to you. I'll go ahead and do that. 2 times 7 is 14. And then I haven't multiplied by pi yet, so I'll add it there. And yards is just going to hang out at the end by itself. Then you can just do 14 times pi, whatever that gives you. Since you can use 3.14 for pi, you can figure out what that answer will be, and that will be your final answer. Make sure that you include your units of yards at the end. So there's a general overview of how to apply some formulas for basic perimeter.